This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right. Call to order the December meeting of the Southampton Local School Committee, 6 p.m. All 5 members present and accounted for, including our superintendent and building principal. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of November 13th, 2024. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
Yes.
I move that we approve the minutes of November 13th, 2024.
Second.
There's a motion made by Dylan, seconded by Kim. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Public comment? No members of the public are present. Circulation of warrants, announcements, correspondence, moving directly to principal's report.
Okay, you have the principal's report of December 11th, 2024. Our enrollment is at 481 students. I believe that's one more than last month. We also had 4 students move from school of choice to in our regular enrollment because they moved to town. They were school choice students and they are now, it was a family of 3 plus another one. I broke this up into 3 different categories: student life, faculty, staff, and community. For student life, the Hampshire Regional High School Life Skills Program visited Norris Neurodiversity Program last month, and the students engaged in social activities, and the Hampshire Regional students led our Norris students in a craft activity, which was really nice to see all the kiddos working together. And some of our students who may be in the older grades that will transition to Hampshire and next year or the year after got to meet some of the staff that they'd be working with. So it was a really nice transition for them. Our kindergarten classes held family literacy activities in the month of November. Many parents and invited guests came in to read to the classrooms. I was one of them. It was very nice to read to Miss. Very good. Kindergarten students completed FastBridge testing for the first time. This year we waited about a couple months before we did the testing, and the scores were excellent, with only a few students being recommended for Tier 2 interventions in ELA and math. And on Friday, December 6th, grade students visited the Springfield Science Museum, and grade 4 students visited Connecticut Science Center. I should have put that somewhere else, but anyway. Faculty and staff, Kathy Sullivan, longtime para at Norris, is going to be retiring in February. She also heads our after-school program, so I thought it was important to let you know that, because we are looking through the Collaborative for Educational Services for a new person to run that after-school program. And that's through CES, the collaborative, as I said. Our 3rd session of professional development with 2 Teach Global was held on November 19th. The presenter that we've had over the last couple of sessions, Jackie Rodriguez, checked in with teachers on the goals that they set for the year. We also brainstormed ideas on how to add more time for special educators to work with general ed teachers in order to support all students. And under community, the PTO Holiday Bazaar was held on Saturday, November 23rd. It was another very successful event with lots of families, and the Hackworth School of Dance was there, and they did a phenomenal job. It was just very nice. And Preschool Pie Day was held on Wednesday, November 27th. Many families were able to attend, along with Dr. Perrone, who was a volunteer pie server, and there's a nice picture of him there.
I killed it.
How was your first pie day?
It was wonderful.
This is where your height goes against you.
That's all I have.
Any questions on the principal's report? Superintendent's report.
I put two main things to talk about. The grants, I hope you all had an opportunity to read it. I can answer any questions that you might have about them, but the bottom line is, with respect to grants, the challenges that we faced, just straightening things out, are really starting to come together. We had been able to roll over some grants, apply for and receive waivers, re-register some of the federal grants that we had issue with, the REAP grant specifically. And I have to say that the work that the business office, the assistant superintendent, and the Pupil Services Director, the work that they're doing is, along with the work that our forensic team is doing, has been amazing, and it's allowed us to really identify areas that we can recoup money that we thought was lost, that we can ensure that we're drawing those grants down and using it appropriately based on the grants themselves. The challenge has been amending those grants going back to 24 and 23 and then closing them out, because many of them are 27-month grants. So we're coming up on some timelines and feeling a little pressure, but we've really gained some traction with the forensic work, especially around the grants. So I'm really happy to report that we've, as I said, recouped some money, identified places where the state has been gracious enough to grant waivers, and really make some progress with identifying how we can use resources that we thought initially that were lost, but were not, and we're able to move forward in a positive way to the benefit of the schools, the students, and the teachers. The first point that I was talking about was the Academic Society induction, and as a brand new superintendent, 5 months in the job, for the students at the high school to invite me to speak at that event really it touched me, and it was a humbling experience, but also it was an opportunity for me to speak as a first time as the superintendent, and to really talk about some of those things, those challenges that I want to set for our students around leading in a positive way, around serving in the community, growing school spirit, and really taking ownership of their own learning. And those are 4 things that I've kind of challenged the Academic Society to do, and I really want to push that message of empowerment to the students and taking responsibility off the shoulders of adults and putting it on the shoulders of the students, and really giving them opportunities for voice and empowerment to move themselves and the school, their peers, forward. And that opportunity that I had to speak at the Academic Society was awesome. And it really felt good. It kind of solidified for me the piece of this job that makes the job worth doing. Being present, being a part of the life of the schools. Going and serving pies to the littles at Norris, and going to the holiday and the fall festivals, going to games, and it's just, that's what makes this job fun. And so I wanted to include that because A, it was really a humbling moment for me, and B, it was an opportunity for me to speak for the first time with that superintendent's hat on to the student body at the high school. And that really, it meant a lot to me.
Okay, questions? Within your report, page 4 that we have talks about a meeting that's happening on December 17th. Could you just expand a little bit about what that means about?
So the schedule here was actually, it was part of the budget update that Dawn was going to give. Unfortunately, she's not feeling well, and I have to say she's been running herself ragged and really burning it down with respect to the hours and what needs to be done to get the job done. And so that was a schedule that she had put together. There are some changes that need to be made. Just for example, on the annual town meeting schedule, it says that the Westhampton second Sunday in May, it's actually the second Saturday in May. So there's a couple typos. This was a draft that we are working on. So on the 17th, there is an ADC meeting. At that meeting, we are going to present the central office budget. Kim sent an invitation for me to the chair people, to the towns, to the finance subcommittees, select boards, etc., because we really want to be transparent in this first presentation around the central office budget. And that drives everything that happens after that.
Right, because historically, there's been 10 meetings, right? You have the informational meeting only for every town, and then you have the individual meetings for the town. So the thought is here, take the individual, or the informational meeting for all the towns and consolidate into one meeting. So instead of 10 meetings, there's 6 meetings. So that's why it's important if you're available to attend on the 17th. I've already encouraged Select Board and Finance to attend for Southampton's part, but kind of streamline this a little bit.
Yep.
And that's exactly correct. And the other piece to this that is the first thing on the agenda for that night is going to be a presentation from the Assistant Superintendent, Michael Fredette, and the Director of Pupil Services, Amy Drake. They really haven't been out in front of an audience yet, and they're doing amazing work. And so they have a presentation, won't be a real long presentation, but it'll really encompass the work that they've been doing in their various roles, and it'll segue into the budget presentation afterwards.
Okay.
I have one question.
Go ahead, Kim.
Did Williamsburg change? So this calendar
become
shows
first?
Williamsburg as the first Monday in May. They have historically, they've been like in June. They've typically been the last one. So I don't know if that's a typo or if that's something that they've changed.
To my knowledge, it's not a typo or
right.
a change. I will have to double check.
Yeah, it's just they are historically last, and so that just kind of caught my eye, just
Okay.
for something to double check. It's possible that they changed it, but just in case they didn't.
Absolutely, I will look into that.
Because we usually have to change the Hampshire Regional meeting in June to be a week later because that's
When their town meeting is. So.
Historically.
And sometimes with Hampshire Regional, like, the budget passing is hinging on Bergie, and they're the last ones. So.
No, I will certainly check in with Dawn tomorrow and make sure that we identified the appropriate date there. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? None? All right, Chair's report. The 5 chairs did meet last week with the superintendent. We are going to meet at a minimum quarterly. And it's kind of set up as the beginning of the year, the mid-year, and end of year as a check and balance. And it's more to, I think, just kind of align all the committees on the same centralized priorities that we have, not to dive into individual things that, Southampton may be dealing with, but Westhampton isn't. So policy procedures, where we can standardize things across the board. When we also discussed about using that committee, or that group, it's not a committee, that group as a visioning for the 3-year, 5-year plan, looking out, because most committees are focused on the 1-year plan and the budget. Here, maybe here are the next top 10 priorities we should have, and how the chairs think they should be listed, and then circulate that and work on that, because it's not necessarily time sensitive within 30 or 90 days. This is kind of like long-range planning, the initial think tank. So we're going to run with that for a little bit and see how that goes.
Sounds great. Much needed.
Yes. Hampshire Regional School Committee.
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of the same stuff we've been doing here, working on policy, et cetera. We did talk in detail about the proposed expansion of the Pioneer Valley Chinese Immersion School. And we voted as a committee. It was not unanimous, but we did vote as a committee to send a letter opposing that expansion.
And I think we're going to take that up under new business later tonight? Yes.
Yep. And we talked some more about, of course, the cell phone pilot, because everybody wants to talk about that. And we are going to have another meet at our next meeting in January. We'll be looking at the principal's proposed program for what we're going to do in the spring that she works on with a group of teachers and students, etc. And then it's possible that some students might actually develop a proposal as well. And so we'll look at that and engage with new ideas, or stick with the program we already have, which, as we've talked about, is working pretty well. And we talked about budget and the need to make sure that we are including all the FinCom and select boards, and doing that earlier than later.
Okay, questions? PTO update?
Yep.
PTO met last night. They had a really good turnout, which was really nice to see. The major topic was the holiday bazaar, and they knocked it out of the park. After their expenses, they netted about $16,000, which is a huge, yeah, right? Yeah, it's a huge fundraiser for the PTO. Nice job. And so a lot of the work they were doing was like talking about, what went well, what could we tweak, that kind of stuff. And they're really working hard to like get all of that into writing so that for next year, when they're doing this again, they're not trying to remember because they have it written down. But they also seem to have some a really good group of volunteers too, and a lot of them, because it takes a ton of people to put that event on. And actually they had said that they might even want more for next year. But overall, the big news was $16,000 in profit. That was like phenomenal. So good on them.
Questions? No? School council.
I'm going to let Elisa take this because I had an appointment yesterday.
Yeah, that's okay. So we met yesterday. We have new members, Roshana Kotari, who's a new parent at Norris with 2 young children who moved into Southampton this summer. Kim Izquierdo is a parent who's on school council last year as well. Kelsey Rowell, 2nd grade teacher, Margaret, and myself. And Margaret wasn't able to make it, which is okay. I'm just saying who's on the committee. We went over what is the role of the school council, what we're tasked to do, introduced ourselves, got to know each other a little bit, and our next meeting is on January 14th, where we will begin looking over the school improvement plan and what we need to update, change, revise, or tweak.
What time on the
3:30 on the 14th.
I want to just jump in for a second. Next PTO meeting is also on the 14th at 6:30 in the Norris Library.
Are those
TV land.
both before our next meeting? Yes.
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 Any questions?
Great.
Collaborative for Educational Services update?
They're actually meeting tonight, so obviously I'm not attending that meeting. I'm here instead. I'll provide an update based on the meeting notes from that meeting at the next meeting.
And then as far as select board update goes, I think the most important thing is we're working on the budget as a town. Everything seems to be on track. I'm pleased to update or share from the select board point of view that we've seen a significant increase in two-way communications between the town officials and the central office. For example, the select board received a very detailed email from the business administrator about payroll charges that were charged off to the general fund that really belonged to grants. And while there were 4 or 6 of them, which is fine, we collectively, I think we know there were some accounting issues. The fact that they've been identified, and every single one of those issues had a comma in them, so when you add them up, there's 2 commas. So that means from the town's point of view that if they all get corrected, that's going to be a multi-comma addition to free cash for the town in the next budget, which from the school committee side will go a long way in me, and all of us, advocating to make sure that we don't get hampered with just the traditional 2.5% increase. So, but things are going well. And again, I think communication is key to everything. And I can't have more positive things to say about the new open communication lines between central office and the town officials here. And I think that goes both ways. So, any questions from me as the select board?
Do we have a calendar for capital requests, so we make sure that all of the Norris requests?
A calendar out, go ahead.
I have a department head meeting tomorrow with Scott, and on the agenda is capital planning. So I'm assuming we'd get our...
Capital committee hasn't met because I don't believe there's enough members.
Oh, really?
I'm not 100% positive.
Okay.
But yes,
I'm sure Kim's available.
Kim who?
It's an easy gig. It's a fun gig.
Get me into things.
The next item on our agenda is budget and finance team update. Unless there's anything, we'll take a pass on that and excuse Don.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody has any specific questions.
Any immediate red herrings that have come up in the last 30 days that we need to know about, that are urgent, on fire? Are we being sued or about to lose a bunch of money?
No.
Good.
What I would say is the other way. I truly am seeing progress. It's incremental, but again, we're gaining traction. Of the problems we've identified, those are starting to get checked off the list. We met with Jay Sullivan again from the state, updated him on the number of challenges, issues, problems that we have identified. We've told him the resources we're applying to it, and Dawn has really put a timeline to those fixes. And so her next step is to update that document that's been shared with you previously, and you're going to see some change in a positive way. So that's a good thing. Right now, the focus is on the central office budget and then the Hampshire budget, but those other things aren't stopping. And that's kind of how I'm trying to communicate this is, we're running the school district right now. We're supporting principals, students, teachers, et cetera, but we're also looking at the 26 budget, and we have a huge anchor that's dragging us, but we're putting force on it, and we're moving forward.
Okay.
Is Kyle working on something in particular, the new assistant business administrator?
The budgets.
The budgets, okay.
Yes. Yes, he is.
And everybody has started. We had some new hires in the pipeline, but everyone's now working.
Everybody's on. He was the latest,
Yep.
or the last to start, and he is, he's jumped right in, and he's on it. And
Good.
Dawn doesn't cut anybody any slack. She's getting them going, so.
Sometimes it's good to take a former town administrator and stick him in that role. Anything else under budgets? Or finance, no? All right, next we have new business. So the only thing under new business is other business that cannot wait until the next regularly scheduled meeting. Does anybody have anything?
Is that something you want?
Yes, I did want to know if we wanted to also send a letter regarding PVCIS.
And is the full name, isn't that the Chinese?
Pioneer Valley
Chinese
Immersion School.
Okay, so on this note, I'm going to recuse myself from this discussion. They're a client of mine, and I have financial interest in whatever happens there. So for the discussion, the vice chair will take over. If you happen to choose to write a letter, please designate the vice chair to sign it.
Yep.
So can somebody, I think since you've already been through this discussion up at Hampshire,
Yeah.
is this okay, Joe? I want Margaret to explain why would we be
I
talking about
have no
this?
idea what you're talking about, so I would love for you to explain what it is.
Yeah, okay, so the Pioneer Valley Chinese Immersion School is a school in Hadley.
Oh, I know the school, but I
Obviously
don't.
in the school, yes. And so, over the past decade or so, they have made intermittent efforts to get permission to increase the size of their population.
Okay.
They just bought a brand new building, and they now have more room for students, and they are looking to add 100 new spots in the school, and it is K through 12 at this point. So the concern is, on the pro side, that means that more students can go, get access to learning a language at a charter school. The con of it is that means that there's more spots for us to be potentially sending students to. The concern with current parents is that they are already struggling to meet needs of special ed students, which is not unusual in a charter school situation.
Current parents that already have kids in the school.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So they don't have broad support amongst their own parents for this. They have broad support within their board and, people that are affiliated with the school, the teachers, et cetera. They do not, at this point, have a waiting list for all grades. They might for maybe some of the younger grades. I'm not positive about that. But I had heard they didn't have any. They must have.
So is it Desi that has to give them this approval? Is that who they get approval from?
The board.
Yes.
The
Board of Education.
The Board of Education,
Board of
okay.
Ed, right.
And so, what, Why does our opinion matter?
That's my question.
Yeah, so we were approached by Lindsay Savadosa, who is the rep, the state rep, and she has a lot of constituents in the area, schools that are concerned about what this means for the finances of each school. So PVCIS can charge higher than the $5,000 that we would usually spend to send someone for choice. It's closer to $20,000.
How?
Because they're a charter school. So different rules apply for charter schools.
But that means that they get to dictate what we have to pay them?
Correct. Smith Voc does the same thing because they fall into a special category.
Okay.
So Hilltown, any of the charter schools can do that.
Do we still get charter school reimbursement?
We do get some.
But it's
Dawn
not-
went through the numbers, and I can't remember exactly what the numbers were, but the way they do it is the first year you get like 75% reimbursement, and the next year 50, and then 25, and then, and then it's just like, oh yeah, 5,000. You're kind of on your own.
I mean, that seems ridiculous that that's allowed, but that point aside.
And I don't know how many students we have.
I was gonna say, do we have a large population of kids from our district that go there?
That's
We have
known
8.
to us. We have 8.
8 students, so
For the entire Hampshire Regional 5 towns?
no,
Or
no.
from Southampton?
Southampton.
We have 8 Southampton children that attend the
Yeah.
immersion school.
So I have the numbers from the region, and in our 5 districts, Southampton sends the most students, 8.
Of course we do.
And, when you look at the numbers, there are many.
Wait, so, hold on, sorry. But so the parents don't have to pay anything for their kid to go there?
No, it's the town that pays.
Okay.
So you do pay as a taxpayer, absolutely.
But you're not.
Oh, no, but I
you're not
mean
paying
like,
tuition.
like if you decide to go to a private school, like
If you go to
obviously.
Williston, you pay. If you
Right.
go to a charter
But a charter school,
no, they're
the
free.
parents don't pay?
Correct.
Okay.
They are publicly funded. A lot of times you'll see they even put in their names now, they put public charter, public school, or something like that. Public charter school.
Interesting.
And some of the pushback against charters generally is that because it's a charter school, there's transportation isn't provided, so the people who have means have more of an opportunity to send their students there. They can control the
Population.
population more than a public school can. They aren't as obligated to provide the services that the public schools are. At least that's the argument. But bottom line is the bottom line, and it's really about money and reimbursements, et cetera.
Do we overall have a lot of kids out of our Southampton school district specifically that attend other charter schools other than this one?
I don't have the numbers in front of me. I could certainly find out what charter out is.
Right, I'm just curious, in general, like, are there other charter schools around that we
Oh,
send?
Hilltown.
Yeah, I would say that there are,
I have no
Yeah.
idea.
but I don't have the numbers. I can certainly find those numbers for you.
The Performing Arts School.
I was gonna say, I know
Yeah.
I know that one because I've known a couple kids that have gone there.
Yep.
But
We still want to allow choice. I mean, one of the concerns that came up at the Hampshire meeting was, well, are we restricting people's ability to send their kids there? Because there's no waiting list, it doesn't appear at this point as if that's the case.
Right. And so the letter we're writing is going to Desi?
It goes to DESI.
Or the Board of Education.
And the board, it goes to both.
Yeah, the ask from Rep. Sabadosa was to have each of the districts write a letter in opposition to the expansion of enrollment at PVCICS.
So Williamsburg has done it and Hampshire's done it. I don't know about the others.
Westhampton has done it.
But that doesn't mean that we have to do it. It's just, I'm bringing it up because it was an ask from our rep.
Is there some kind of a standard letter that we just have to have somebody sign? Like, has somebody written a letter already that we have the format
Yes.
for it?
Yes.
I would be curious to know more about the other charter schools that people are going to? Like, are they trying to, like, do they expand? Do we worry about people going there? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, are we targeting this communities, this school? Or is it just literally we don't think that they need the
I can only
expansion?
talk about my tenure in school committee. It has never come up with any other school. When Hilltown first started, of course, there were people concerned about it, but no one stood in the way of Hilltown starting. PDCIS did make this same ask, I think it was 6 years ago or so, and that was denied. And they wanted to put 60 new seats, and now they want 100. So they're reaching far. Now, the Board of Ed could say, well, we'll allow you to have 25 new seats or 50 seats, or, you know, so they could still, this isn't, I don't know that it's an
Is it
all or
still
nothing.
staying in Hadley?
Yes. The new building's in Hadley, yeah.
Do we know when the board's going to make their decision?
I think the deadline is the 15th or something?
Of
December?
Oh,
For
okay,
us
so-
to communicate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sunday?
I'm probably wrong. It's probably Friday, or I don't know. Vito might know. I know there was a deadline that we were concerned about.
Is there a motion regarding this?
Well, I would move that we write a letter in opposition to the 100-seat expansion. Was also, well, I'll wait for it to be seconded.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion.
So the only thing I would add is that we are partially doing this in solidarity with other public schools. They primarily take from the Amherst Regional School,
Yep.
Belchertown, Hadley. That's where most of their students come, and those same schools are also in opposition to this.
I'll say, generally speaking, I am broadly opposed to charter schools, especially expansions on those. They have little accountability to the state. They don't have to follow the same requirements. Their enrollment can be selective, and they are not, again, required to necessarily follow the same special education needs of the students that they're there. The funny part, to follow up on this, if we are going to authorize this letter, I would ask that the motion be to authorize the vice chair or another member to sign, because I need to call the Ethics Commission to find out if I can sign a letter to the state.
Correct.
I can vote on it. I know that. I do not believe that I can be the signatory on an effort to push for legislation. I can vote on that position, but I don't think I can be the point person to speak for the committee.
So I would amend my motion to say a letter to be signed by the vice chair or another member.
Or designate.
Or designate, yeah.
And I'm good with your motion being amended. All right. Are we voting?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Abstentions? The chair?
He's just not in it at all, right? He's just recused.
He's, right, well,
But the minutes should reflect.
then it should reflect that the chair was not an active participant in the discussion or the vote.
Right. Is there any other business that cannot wait until our next available meeting? If there is none, the chair has one. Everyone's good? So I would like to just get some clarification around recent notifications that came out of Norris Central Office regarding what appears to be reoccurring inability for Durham to supply busing services. And the only reason I'm aware of this is because I am a parent of an impacted student. So other committee members, if they're not on Bus 11, they may not be aware of this. But on September 24th, September 27th, October 21st, November 14th, December 9th, and December 10th, Durham was unable to fulfill what I believe its portion of the contract and supply a bus. So children on Bus 11 were rerouted to two other buses. Short impact, instead of getting home at 3:30, they're getting home, at least my child's getting home at 4 o'clock. I guess my initial question is, I only know about this because my child's impacted by it. Is this happening on other buses within Norris, or is it strictly related to Bus 11?
As of right now, the only thing that has been a pattern is that Bus 11.
And do we know, is it a mechanical issue or a staffing issue?
I believe it's a staffing issue. I believe the driver of Bus 11 is being called to float to other, when a staff member from another district is absent or another school or whatever, that bus driver is being asked to go and drive for them. So I think Bus 11 does not have a permanent driver. The float driver's been driving Bus 11. So when another person is absent, they take the float and put them somewhere else, and then they take the kids from Bus 11 and put them on Bus 2, except 2 students where it makes more sense for them to be on Bus 10.
Right.
One of them happens to be yours.
And again, I don't want to make this about me,
Yeah, I understand.
but if I put on my finance hat,
Yeah, I see where you're
do
coming
we
from.
need this extra bus?
Yeah.
Do we need Bus 11 at all?
As someone who picks their kids up every single day, there's, I would say, at least Bus 11 and Bus 12 are usually the buses that are late,
Yeah.
or their kids are asked to wait in the in the heck's the lobby, yes, or whatever.
It's raining or too cold, yeah.
Yeah, so I would note that I agree with you that there has been.
I'm just, again, I think we spend $325,000 or $352,000 on busing, and if we can repeatedly show sometimes 2 to 3 times a month that we can
Right.
make good without that extra bus.
I think that when we take those kids from Bus 11 and put them on Bus 2 is packed.
Okay.
So it seems like it would be a good idea, but I think we need to do some more work around it.
And then my flip side is, are we being charged on those days when the bus only runs in the morning?
That's a
And that
good
may not,
question.
and
We can find that out too, yeah.
that's like a question for central office, right? I mean, I have no problem paying for the services that we actually get, but
And I appreciate you bringing it up because I'm on bus duty and sometimes it's not even until I'm already out there till I find out this has happened. So in my mind, I'm not seeing the pattern. I'm just doing what I need to do. So until someone brings it up and we start looking at it, that is a lot of days where in my mind, it wasn't even that many days.
Right.
But if it's
Well, and the first-
affecting you,
and-
right?
And again, the first couple of times it's okay, but
Right.
you can only take so much of my 10-year-old complaining that he's missed 30 minutes of his iPad. Because I get home at 3:30 and now I'm the last one, instead of the first, I'm the last one on the bus at 4. Just ask Jacob, he'll tell you.
But would there be a way, if this does seem to be a recurring problem, to reorder the bus routes to make Bus 2 not be packed?
Right.
But still cut down a bus? I mean, and not necessarily this year, because but like for next year or something like that,
And that comes up a lot, and it's been coming up for 20 years about how many buses we need. But I think one of the issues does become the length some kids would be on the bus, the length of time some kids would be on the bus if we had fewer buses.
It actually shocks me how long some kids are on the bus and they live less than a mile away from school.
Yeah, and I guess ultimately, when I get down to the core of the issue, I just want to make sure that if it was a mechanical issue, then I think we probably have rights under our contract to require them to purchase a proper bus. But if it's a staffing issue, I can probably be a little more lenient on it, but at the same point, your failure to staff should not be our financial responsibility.
Right.
Right, so therefore, we should be receiving some credits on this.
But I think the other argument though is, yes, but we still transported the kids.
They do, but only with, how many buses altogether do you have on a full
We
day?
have 9.
Not with 8
So you're
buses instead of
saying-
9.
So why are we paying for 9 when they're only using 8? Got it, okay.
Yep, that's all.
All right.
Is that how we pay per bus?
Yes. So that's it on that issue. Ongoing business. Do we have an update on security upgrades? Security upgrades update.
We had a very brief meeting a couple of weeks ago, and we're having another meeting this Friday. So we're hoping to have all the knowledge that we need to have and all the people in the system that need to have access with the codes in order to set the alarm or deactivate the alarm by Friday.
And by meetings, some of this meeting is hands-on training?
Yes, yep.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, are any members of the MTA involved with this yet, or no?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the decision we had discussed was, once the training's done, afterwards.
That'll be the next phase.
That would be the next step, is to, again, collaborate around how the new system can be seamlessly implemented.
Okay. Any other business under ongoing or old business? No? If not, the chair will entertain a motion under MGL Chapter 38, 21A, subsection 3, to discuss strategy, to enter into executive session, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and the chair so declares, as I do, and that the superintendent and building principal be invited in, and that there is no intention to return to public session this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Kim, seconded by Dylan. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Larson, aye.
Shot eye.
Lumber, aye.
Maudsley, aye.
Johnson, I.
And it is 6:40. We are in executive session.